TheEricVolpe and 78 Dangers in our Pokemon Black and White Wi-Fi battle. This battle was against like Burtler. I think it was like Butler or Burtler. I can't really pronounce it, but it doesn't matter. So let's just get to the match. I let off with the team because I knew he had a Pokemon Sturdy, so I was like, alright, U-turn, break Sturdy, and then go from there. And he goes to the turn, I'm like, okay, I'll go with Sucker Punch. V-Create! And I get a crit. I'm figuring since he wasn't bitching about it, it was probably a special defensive Spiritomb. So, crit maybe didn't matter? I don't know. So he goes out of the chop. I'm like, what can you do to me? Earthquake, I resist. Outrage, I can take. Yeah. So it goes to the crunch. I'm like, okay, on your switch, I go for the Will-O-Wisp. And I hit, which is cool because, you know, Will-O-Wisp and we are best friends. So, this is a perfect example of where people shouldn't be allowed to not know things. He thought Cuss Separator was legal, so I'm like, okay, I can't even mess around with this thing instead with my scissor. I have to go straight into Leona and surf. Because I knew he had the Cuss Separator, because he told me. So it's like, oh, well, now I have to change my game plan to fit you. So he goes on the Honchkrow, and I'm like, okay, obvious Sucker Punch. So, let's do this. And I go for the Will-O-Wisp again. Yes, I do. I continuously want to catch that Honchkrow because I know that could become a big issue. Seeing that's carrying priority that I do not have on my team are the maybe Scissor and his Bullet Punches. So I catch his Zapdos. I'm like, okay, you're not gonna Thunder Wave, right? You're not gonna. Why would you Thunder Wave? Why would I switch? Oh, he Thunder Wave, bitch. So now I'm like, okay, well, I couldn't see you really wanting to do that much damage. I mean, a Thunderbolt will kill. So I stay in, and I go for the Draco, and so right now I'm just kind of running with like a half-working Latios. I mean, because it's still ridiculously strong, and that Draco Meteor is gonna hurt. So I'm like, okay, why not save it for later? I don't. Again, one of those things where I'm like, why did you do this? Were you expecting to die and just locked out? My opponent roosts, which is cool for him. Not cool for me because now I have a Zapdos I have to deal with again. But it's cool for me because Probopass is a beast. He's like, never again. Never again will people insult me. Never again, all that stuff. So I go for the Stealth Rock, and I'm like, oh, what? And I'm like, you know what? Hydro Pump me. Hydro Pump me. See what happens when you can do with that pump. Oh, what's this? What's it? Oh, I went for 28. Yeah. Introspects. So I go for the T-Wave, and I'm like, okay, he really can't touch me. So I'm just gonna Pain Split. I mean, odds are he gets paralyzed or hurt, so he gets paralyzed. And this is the part where I actually lose HP on a Pain Split. It was like, I don't want anything to get hit with a Hydro Pump because it's specs, so fodder, and it's like, wow, I gave him HP. I'm a good person. So now I go into Leona, I'm like, again, you're paralyzed, so am I, but I'm quicker. So I can just hit you with that Draco. So this is a perfect example of how even Pokemon's paralyzed, if you play it at the right time, you can make big use out of it. I was paralyzing this team, I was burning it, I was just making it weak. So now he goes into Honchkrow again, I'm like, okay, switch. He's like, oh, but I has the Pursuit. And I'm like, you idiot, you're Banded now. You're Banded or Scarf. So I'm like, hey, Scissor, yeah? Time to set up. And so he goes into Chomp, I'm like, oh, really? And it's like, okay, can a Bullet Punch kill? Doubt it. So I Bullet Punch, and it does a good amount of damage. You know, maybe min, maybe max, who knows? I don't care actually, because he gets the Fire Fang, and it's like, yeah, it's an issue, but I can revenge kill you, because you walked in the Fire Fang, I had my Scarf Poke. So I just go for the Shadow Ball, and that was a very risky play on my part, because if you went to Honchkrow, he could have easily have resisted the hit. So now I'm like, okay, you're gonna predicting the outrage. So I'm like, Vash, you gotta take one for the team here, buddy. And Vash does, you know, Bettini, Choice Scarf, Physical, very good now. So I'm like, oh, okay. So now I'm just gonna go out into Weezing, you know, go for that Willow, and burn the Chomp. So it's like, oh, you can't touch me. You know, I'm saying him, it can't touch this. It can't touch this. Okay, sorry, I'm tired. And he had some Pokemon. It just really clinches the game even better for me. because this last play, he doesn't really have anything that can hit Weezing and hit the other poke. So my other poke, so I go for the Lewis, and now it's like a game. Because now I can just hit him with that Bolt. He does get the Sucker Punch off. Judging by damage, I could have actually taken another. I could have taken a normal one, so yeah, that was a good game, but guy, I will catch you guys later. Okay, peace.